This is One Soccer Today for the final Monday in the month of November, and it's not like we had much happening this weekend to discuss here on One Soccer Today. Gareth Wheeler, Oliver Platt, and Jordan Wilson. Of course, I'm being facetious. 30 minutes that will fly by. MLS Cup playoffs, English Premier League, but of course, the lead story, not just for us today, the A block, but across Canadian soccer circles. Let's dive right into our Visa Women's Football Report. Presented by Visa, our women's football report. And today's report will stem largely from the reporting in the Globe and Mail by Greg Mercer, Nancy McDonald, and Simon Hoopt. On November the 23rd, an article was published called Canada Soccer's Culture Problem. They followed up, or at least Greg Mercer followed up yesterday with another article saying the NDP are pushing for leaders at Canada Soccer to testify over spying scandal and culture. You might be a little bit familiar with the former, but the latter, well, some new explosive, quite frankly, disturbing details and allegations emerged from the Globe's reporting this weekend around the culture led by former Canadian women's national team head coach Bev Priestman. The stories, the details, the comments are as juicy and bountiful as they are explosive. We will not cover all of them. Those articles, I should say, are available for you at the Globe. But assuming we're all working from a place where we have read the pieces and have formulated an opinion, let's go to you, Oliver Platt, first for your major takeaways from another weekend that Canada Soccer isn't necessarily going to remember fondly.
No, I don't think it reflects particularly well on the people involved. Some of the things that were going on, particularly in the lead up to matches, right? Like this stuff happening in such close proximity to games for the women's national team. So that's not good. I think this is something that we've talked about before, and I'm just going to say it again. I think this is a reflection on the culture that unfortunately was established within the national teams, and I think it was to a certain extent within both national teams, where you had two very successful head coaches who had a lot of on-pitch success in their time in charge. And you had off the field some executives, some staff at Canada Soccer who did not have the same level of kind of authority and competence and experience, and were not able to challenge that or to put a check on, the power of the people running the teams. And as much as the teams were successful, I think you can get yourself in a pretty dangerous place when that's the case and you don't have that appropriate balance between decision makers. So this to me seems like another example of that, where Bev Priestman, partially as a result of her success on the field as head coach of the women's national team, was basically able to do whatever she wanted unchecked. And you can see that in a couple of investigations that seem to have gone nowhere, that don't seem to have really been handled appropriately, and some of the allegations that are in this report.
Jordan Wilson.
Yeah, quickly, just to echo Ollie's sentiment, I just feel like this is like coaches need coaches as well. Like if you give anyone too much power and leeway, and they're able to just bring in who they want and do what they want, situations like this will continue to occur. I think moving forward, I've said it before on OST, I've said it to anyone who would listen as well. It's just getting good people around the game that are actually able to influence change. If you have people that come in, it's not about individuals that I'm saying like a one person, but it's about the unit, right? And I feel like if the unit isn't strong, then you're going to have situations like this moving forward. And it is unfortunate preparing for games when the women are about to play. It seems like there's always a story. There's always a news agenda that we have to address before we get into the nitty gritty, which is really promoting this team that has had so much success in the past. But it's not even about the past. For me, it's about the players coming up, and they're going into this as well. So looking at this, reading the story, talking to people over this weekend, for me, this doesn't feel like the end. Obviously, I think they're going to dig in and find some more dirt and things are going to come out. But I think the resolution for me is just like peace reigning finally. But I just don't think that's around the corner. I think we're knee deep in it right now. It's going to be like this for a little bit of some time as well.
Gareth Wheeler.
Whenever these reports have come out over the last few years, it's like I just say to myself, here we go again. Like, here we go again. I'm a little bit confused where a lot of this stuff is coming from, what's being reported on right now. Like, Bev Priestman's gone. There's been wholesale changes in terms of the leadership in Canada Soccer. it's like there are individuals who continue to talk because they have big gripes or bones to pick with certain individuals for certain things. And then all the skeletons are coming out of the closet. Like, what's true, what's not true? It's very difficult to discern one from another. For me, the biggest thing is who knew what and when. And that goes everyone from the executive, the coaching staff, the players. And why is this just coming out now? Culture was the one thing that was always boasted and bragged about by people within these teams, the culture that was established. But now it seems like it was all messed up, from the cheating to the demands on individuals to people being put in compromised or uncomfortable positions. Who knew what when? And even with this report that came out in 2023, this was after Nick Bontis was gone. There was people that, for me, were unfairly scapegoated for a lot of the issues that that persisted in Canadian soccer. He was gone. A report came out that documented maybe some of these issues behind the scenes, and then Bev Priestman was given a new contract after this. It doesn't make sense to me. The power vacuum, we've documented this. It resided with two coaches with an incredible amount of power. And the time when the revolution came is when their budgets were threatened to be cut. And now all of this comes out, and you say, well, maybe there should have been better oversight to begin with. Canada Soccer is saying all the right things. It's about moving forward. Like, changes have been made. But even like when it comes down to the governance structure right now of Canada Soccer, when people that are part of the board of directors, who are part of the decision-making process of what's going on in Canadian soccer, they're unaware of a lot of these things, then that raises a red flag for me. Yeah, with more and more people talking about things, and Bev Priestman's going to have her say, by the way, because she doesn't agree with a lot of the things that have been said. Well, quite clearly through the statement made by her lawyer. There's going to be like a they said scenario that's going to play out here. Where's the truth? I mean, I don't know. I just, right now, the only people that this hurts moving forward is the current team and the current administration, who are trying to build this thing into something really special going forward. And now it just seems like this is an anchor. It's like a weight around them and a weight around the program that just will not alleviate itself. So, yeah, I don't know where things go from here, but it's not a good look. And I just wish that it would stop.
Yeah, I think there's an understandable feeling of frustration from members of the Canadian soccer community after the report was published from Matthews, Stinsdale, and Clark. That was the report by Sonia Regenbogen, Canada Soccer Association investigation report regarding women's national team 2024 Paris Olympics, was presented to the Canada Soccer Board of Directors. Sweeping changes were announced. Mr. Lombardi, who was initially the man mainly who took the blame for the drone incident originally in Paris, he had resigned. Coach Mander, Coach Priestman, both have since parted ways or been dismissed by Canada Soccer by all reporting. And now we feel like we're trying to turn a new leaf. And it's not unique to this situation. A lot of the times people will feel emboldened to speak when they see that repercussions have been had, and it's now piling up for a few different people in particular. And Gareth mentions the quote, the testimony that was put out by Bev Priestman's lawyer, Muniza Sheikh. It was on LinkedIn. That's where I saw it. I imagine it was in other places as well. That's another one I could read verbatim, but essentially the first and last paragraphs were as follows. It has and will continue to take some time to process, heal, find the right words, and step back into public setting, but I felt I should say something irrespective of ongoing circumstances. Bev Priestman concluding to the people around the world that see a person behind a public figure who have checked in, some who really didn't have to but did, thank you. You continue to help me through some dark days. That was from Bev Priestman. Her lawyer said in part, the final sentences, the recent article levies several fabricated claims against Bev. These are demonstratively being raised now to detract from the real story. Bev has never harassed anyone. Yes, this is targeting designed to discredit and malign a gay women in professional sports. So is that legalese? Is that lawyer speak? Of course, there are questions. The lawyers, if representing any client, is going to do their best to save face, to try and turn the tide. This is what they do. This is what they're paid. But I think for some people, based on the reporting, based on what has come out, that may be left a sour taste in some mouths. Jordan Wilson.
You're going to me first. Ooh. What do I say about this? I mean, what I have said, I've said a few things. I said what's done in the dark must come to light. Whether that is now, 6 months, or a year, I feel like it will come out what the truth is. I feel like I think it's a lawyer's job. Never met this woman, but it is also to spin the narrative. That is what it is. If you're guilty, this is the job. You're supposed to spin it and look at it a different way. I think Bev Priestman is in hot water because she did something at the Olympics, and the whole world found out about it, and she got caught doing it. I think, furthermore, didn't really double down on it and didn't really take accountability right away. I think that's why her head's been on a chopping block a little bit because of that. I don't think it has anything to do with her being gay or her sexuality. It has to do with the wrongdoing that she's done or has been accused of. So I think that, but again, I understand from a lawyer's point of view, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put in and throw something else out there and then have people think and question if someone's doing wrongdoing to her client.
Jump in, Ollie. I know you had something to say.
Jordan's right. Like, it's obviously a lawyer's job to defend their client and come up with a narrative as they see fit. But we can also say it's complete rubbish, like, because in my opinion, it is. I think it's kind of borderline offensive, to be honest with you, to suggest that, there's identity issues here and someone is being targeted because they're gay, because they're a woman in sports. Like, there are real situations where that happens, and to use it as a shield here, I find pretty disgraceful, to be honest with you. But again, I guess the lawyer has to come up with something. As for Bev Priestman's statement, like, it's just disappointing to me because this is a coach I had a lot of respect for. I thought I had a pretty good relationship with covering the team, enjoyed covering the team when she was in charge. And, everything she says, from the comments she made at the Olympic Games in Paris when this broke to now this Instagram post that she's put out, there's no responsibility taken. Like, there continues to be no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, of that she had any part in this. And there are facts stacking up between the reporting, between the Canada soccer investigation, between the FIFA investigation, that very clearly point to her role in it. So it's incredibly disappointing to me, and I think it probably is to the players she previously coached as well, that there's no acknowledgement of that, and just kind of some thing about it being like a turning point for the game and like a teachable moment. Like, a teachable moment for who? It's your mess. So it's very disappointing to me that continues to be her kind of stance on this, but I guess they've set their stall out there.
Yeah, I can separate the two stories here, like the spying, which kind of led us down this road, and now these cultural revelations that are coming out. But through it all, to Ollie's point here, my big takeaway, and whether it be that statement from Bev Priestman when she sat behind a podium and threw others under the bus trying to self-punish herself, she's never taken proper responsibility for her role at play here. Who's taking responsibility for anything? Even within Canada Soccer, this recent report that came out about the spying, basically what it did was it took away, it said that the new regime has no responsibility for what happened in the past. That's all it did. That's all it said. Who is taking responsibility for anything? I've said this for years now covering Canada Soccer, okay? The reason why the structure fails is because there's not enough resources. There's enough money behind it. There's enough people. There just isn't enough quality to make sure that things like this don't rear their ugly head. So, and I feel like just everything kind of has spiraled out of control in recent years. Look, this report doesn't change it. It's just the latest edition. It's just the latest. And there's so many people that really care about this sport and are doing the right things in terms of this sport in this country and are trying to play their part in growing this. And when revelations like this come out, that I just don't know how the rest of the Canadian soccer community reacts, because I'm like, just here we go again. I'm tired of it. It's just exhausting reading all of this. And I don't know what exactly this has to do with the spying scandal or vice versa. So here we are in this gray area where someone who's already left is now, I don't know. It's just a difficult one for me.
Yeah, the frustration is palpable for people who have covered and who continue to cover and love this sport. I feel for the supporters of this program in particular who had to deal with the cloud hanging over the Paris Olympics. We saw how that happened. Now they have one final set of friendlies to end the year, still with an interim coaching staff as a result of everything from this summer. But now 4 days before they kick off in a couple of friendlies against Iceland and South Korea. Once again, these reports are coming out, and the players, more than anyone, must feel like they are drowning in all of this. And the hope is that while Jordan, I think, rightfully alludes to, more will surely come out, not only because these are things that need to be exposed, but also because when there's smoke, there's often fire, and a good journalist will go pursue that. But it's going to likely have that smoke carry into 2025 when this new regime, like Gareth highlights, is trying to turn a new page and write a new chapter. I guess, Ollie, and I know if you had the magic bullet and the answer, you'd probably be running for the board of Canada Soccer. How do they move forward? Because 2025 year has to be a make or break year for them.
Do it.
Like that, I think the biggest thing for me, coming out one of the headlines yesterday was they just have to really hope they don't get dragged in front of government again, because that process, as we have experienced before, is slow, is arduous, and it often doesn't produce any real answers or anything that really helps anyway. So that will be a real difficult thing, I think, for this new administration, who I do think are trying to change things, are trying to put down better standards and better structures. To have to go through that process of sitting in front of government again would be a nightmare, I think.
All right, Jordan, Gareth, anything to add before we move on to MLS Cup?
Nope.
I'll just say this, like, with these new revelations, like, there's some names that keep on coming up, and they're not, they haven't been part of the women's program for quite some time, but Jason DeVos and John Herdman, like, where does this story go from here? Is this where it's going from here? I'm trying to like read the tea leaves here and seeing where this is going, because all of this coming out against a coach that's already left, or coaches that have already left, like, what's the point other than to just bury those individuals even more? Like, unless, there's another game at play here, the reason why people are talking. So we'll see. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Are people talking, or are journalists just pursuing a story, right? Like,
well, but people have to. But if people are willing to give up text messages and all these things, like, it's not just. Again, this isn't knocking the reporters. And by the way, the reporting on this is by completely different individuals than other people who are reporting on other things in the past. So, and other people have gone silent in the reporting while others are now. There's a lot at play here. It's very difficult to decipher. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we will continue to monitor this story, just as we will look forward to having our upcoming Visa women's football reports be about the upcoming friendlies, the actual football on the pitch. 2 more for Canada before the end of the year against Iceland and South Korea. I personally am ecstatic to talk about some X's and O's, some tactics, and some players in the coming days, but an important, if not frustrating, Visa women's football report today. Presented by tonybet, these are your top picks for Monday's episode of One Soccer Today, and it is Champions League. I've got the lines right here down to my left. Let's start with Bayern Munich and PSG. The German side, Jordan Wilson favored at -167, PSG at +400.
Can I make an even bigger prediction? I think Bayern's winning this.
Go
but
for
I think
it.
also
Be
Bayern's
my
winning
guys.
the whole Champions League. They're winning it all.
Oh, wow.
Remember the day, mark the time.
They're on good form. Bayern Munich have won 6 in a row. They haven't conceded in their last 6 games.
They're
PSG,
winning the Champions League.
When they played at Arsenal in the Champions League, they lost 2-0. I think it's going to be a very similar type game. PSG don't give up many chances either. I like the under 3.25 at around +104. That range, depending on what market on tonybet. But I like the unders for this game.
All right, Oliver Platt, let's move on to Sporting +200 against the Red Hot Gunners at +127.
We doing all
Sorry, Jordan, but I'm going to keep backing Sporting here.
What?
Lost their manager. A little bit of maybe a prove-it performance that, we're okay without him. They're good sides. We saw what they did to City. I'm taking Sporting +200.
Ali.
Sporting, no. Sporting are second in the champion. Like this is a free hit for Sporting here. Arsenal at +125. Book it. Arsenal going to win this game.
As I sign off, show of hands, does anyone think Man City at -477 are going to lose again to Rotterdam? Anyone? Show of hands.
Both teams to score at even
the bet.
money. That's the play in this one. That's the bet.
One Soccer Today for this Monday, November 25th. See you tomorrow for more on Wednesday.